Good evening, everyone. Next Generation Weather Forecaster Joe Shock here, taking a look at the next couple weeks because I think there's going to be a pretty significant pattern change that's going to be occurring here across much of North America, especially here in the eastern part of the United States. How it's really been, so warm lately so far over the last, since the fall and even back into the summer. And a lot of people wondering when we're going to get snow here, especially in southern New England, but I think this is about to change up a little bit, so let's take a look here what's going to go on. You can see here's the first 5 days off the 12Z GFS Ensemble. You can see how it starts warm and then ends cool. You can see the warmth out in the west and the Midwest. And then we move on here, days 0 through 5 here. At the 850 millibar, 5,000 foot level, you can see the core of the anomalies, relative to average, the warmest. Centered in the Great Plains and western part of the United States. Then here's 5 through 10 with the 500 millibar pattern. You can see the core of the ridge, focus plains and then west. So you can see how the trough is going to try to connect with the trough over Florida and the trough, if you will, up around Hudson Bay. You can see that weakness beginning to develop there down the road, probably once we get day 4 through day 5, given what I've seen off the operational models, including the European, which is not included in this video. Here we are, days 5 through 10. You can see there is going to be a warm period coming up as we start the month of December here. The first 6-7 days of December, I think it'll be very, very warm relative to average, and that's seen quite nicely here in the 500 millibar. I mean, the 850, 5,000 foot level, you can see the warm anomalies here across much of the country, and the Europeans even warmer through about December 6th, so there is a warm period coming up, and then after that, it looks like things will begin to change. Here we are at 500 millibars. You can see that predominant ridge, plains versus the eastward, and then that trough in the western part of the United States. And down, here we are, days 11 through 16, when things begin to change. You can see a lot, widespread, if you will, cool across much of the eastern part of the United States, and then obviously heading into the upper Midwest and even into the west there. And the European, this afternoon's 12Z run of the European was, ensemble-wise, was cold everywhere, coast to coast cold, the surface all the way up to the mid-levels of the atmosphere. So again, I think this is coming. And then here's the 11 to 16 500 millibar height mean. You can see that trough over the northeastern part of the United States. And the biggest thing to point out here is that big Greenland block that'll be coming up there over Greenland. You can see there in those height anomalies up and through here. So that is a very good signature for the month of December for a lot of storminess in the eastern part of the United States. We'll take a look at some of the teleconnections and some of the analogs that go along with this down the road, which I got some from Mad US Weather. Just a great site to look at all these teleconnections and these analog packages that I'm going to start creating along with my map discussions to try to relate this back to previous years to try to come out with a better forecast in the longer term. Here's day 15 off the GFS Ensemble, just a one-day mean, and the European is similar, but again, more widespread with that trough across the United States, but the core of it are still in the northeastern part of the United States here, December 9th. And that's when about this would really get going is, again, as I said, after the first week of December, getting into mid-month. Now here is the GFS Ensemble, the North Atlantic Oscillation, the NAO. You can see where we are now. You can see we're slightly negative, but then as we get down the road, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and all the way to the 9th of September there, 8th, 9th, 9/18 there, that's the 9th of December at 18Z. So you can see a lot of members there are negative. You can see the ensemble mean, which is in green, which is negative, and the control, which is negative. And then when the negative NAO like that, going into the month of December, here's what the temperature anomalies look like in all those years. You can see there from Mad US Weather, again, all these years that have had that similar teleconnection pattern. And kind of what you saw there on the GFS Ensemble, a lot of cold in much of the eastern part of the United States, Midwest, and then the warmth out back in the west. Here we are with the PNA, the Pacific North American pattern. You can see as we are now slightly negative, but as we go severely negative, maybe in about another 2 weeks or so, and it's a new month, so it's a different kind of relationship when you get into the winter months. It's a different response. You can see what it gives here. A little bit of cold here in the northeast, warm in the southeast, and then cold northern plains and into the western part of the United States. Here is the East Pacific Oscillation, the EPO, positive now. But as you can see, as we head into December, this could really go ballistic. And when the EPO goes severely negative, the cold will come. You can see the control goes up and down in the black lines there. And then the ensemble mean, which is all 20 members or so, you can see the average of all those forecasts together is the squared green lines here. Let me try to point it out with my mouse here. You can see, where's the mouse? So these lines here are the ensemble mean, and then these are each individual members along the entire streak of all 21 members. So you can see there's a big range of possibilities, but obviously going this far out, the mean is the way to go with a forecast, especially with these kind of teleconnections. Negative EPO in December looks like this, very similar to what the European has. Widespread cold across much of the United States, focused cold, Northeast and Great Lakes going through the month of December. Here's the West Pacific oscillation. You can see where we are now, essentially neutral. With this being, it looks like slightly neutral or slightly above normal. There's a couple different ways that this may go. So I have two maps to show you kind of gateway of what may happen here. But with this kind of configuration, with the West Pacific oscillation, the WPO, with it possibly being neutral or positive, this is what it looks like in December. Large-scale warmth, which is being recommended, believe it or not, by the way, by the Canadian SIPS seasonal model. So we don't want to completely get rid of the Canadian SIPS model idea yet. And again, December 1st, we'll have a whole new suite of seasonal forecasts that come out so we can reevaluate and update our forecast as needed. Now here is the December analog, I believe, here with the negative WPO here. Here's the positive one, and then here's the negative WPO here if it were to go negative, which is again being recommended by a couple members. If the WPO goes negative in December, there's what it looks like in the month of December. You can see again widespread large spread cold across much of the eastern half of the United States, with the core of the cold being focused up around the Great Lakes and the northeast part of the United States. So overall, given all the guidance I see, this guidance you just saw in the video, the European weeklies that came out last night, it looks like December has the potential to be quite cold, especially northeastern part of the United States and the Great Lakes. So very, very interesting stuff certainly down the road, and we'll see how it all works out as we get closer. That's it for now, and thank you for watching.